Barclays Women's Super League in action this weekend. We got a whole host of games with a lot of changes ultimately coming in the standings. Christine, how's it going? Welcome back. Glad to have you with us. Let's talk some of the matches. Aston Villa against Manchester City. It was crazy. Villa go up early in the 6th minute, and then Viv Miedema, she comes back with a brace. Then City Aston Villa get an own goal. Mary Powler, Jess Park, they score in the second half just 10 minutes apart, and City get the dub 4-2 over Aston Villa. You'll love to see Viv Miedema with just incredible goals. Class on the day for her. Then we got Tottenham, 3-2 win over Crystal Palace. Tottenham, they go up 2 goals in just 23 minutes. Crystal Palace, they climb back into it. Goals from Katie Stengel and Ashley Worden. And then a late game winner in the 95th minute of stoppage time from Olivia Holt to give Tottenham all 3 points on the road. We got Leicester against Liverpool, a 2-1 win for Leicester over Liverpool. West Ham, Everton, 2-0 for West Ham. And then Manchester United, 3-0 over Brighton. But let's talk a little bit about Chelsea Arsenal, Sandra, because this ultimately was the game of the weekend, top of the table clash. And Chelsea get a 1-0 win over Arsenal to claim that top spot, create even more separation from themselves and everyone in behind them. But it didn't come without a little bit of controversy. A penalty kick call in the second half. Then Katie McCabe gets sent off with a red card. What did you make, Sandra, of all the drama we saw from the Blues?
Of course, that's how it played out. That's what it all came down to for Chelsea and Arsenal. I mean, not a game you wanted to drop points in. Kim Little at one point saying ahead of the match, like they just have to go out there and beat Chelsea. Like that is what they have to do. And unfortunately, didn't happen. I think you can argue that maybe there were stretches of the games in which it obviously could have gone either way. But you also have to maybe take a look at Chelsea and what they were presenting. I mean, more shots, more attempts on target. It just sort of felt like they weren't finding the back of the net with reason, right? Because of Arsenal's efforts. But you hate to see something boil down to that. I think if you're on one side of the pitch, and then if you're on the other, you love to see Guro Ryan convert a penalty kick and pick up all 3 points and ultimately give you such a lead at the top of the table. And you're doing it on a day where your club is announcing the acquisition of Naomi Girma. Stop it. Are you kidding me? It's going to be tough. It was already tough to begin with to chase Chelsea during this season. I don't know how you look at a game like that where they unveil Girma and say, oh yeah, we're really going to catch him now.
I mean, Arsenal fans had hope throughout this match, Christine. You had
and
to
it's
have,
the
because
hope that kills you.
Yeah, no, I mean, of course there was hope. So the opposite of this is that I was actually there for the earlier fixture this season against Chelsea where Arsenal got to play them at the Emirates. This was also 3 days before Jonas Eidevall resigned. So this was absolutely a night and day match in contrast to the prior. They were fairly evenly matched with Chelsea. The problem was that Arsenal, even though they were getting their share of the ball, Chelsea were letting them pass the ball around and having it at their will. The problem is that Chelsea were far more decisive and clinical once they got on the ball. They had all of the firepower. They're subbing on Guro Wright and they're subbing on Lauren James. The depth there is just insane. We know that Chelsea are just a Goliath. Arsenal did what they could, but nearly getting only 10 shots off and a couple of those only being on target it's not enough. So again, Arsenal are, no pun intended, have shot themselves in the foot, not being able to get those opportunities to a desirable end.
Hands down. I mean, when you looked at the stats for this, Chelsea had 9 corners too. You mentioned 21 shots, 9 shots on target, 6 big chances created. Arsenal didn't have a single, quote, big chance created. It was absolutely unfortunate. Defensive stalwart of the day has to go to Arsenal goalkeeper Daphne Van Domselaar, who had an incredible game. She had 8 saves on the afternoon against Chelsea. So Chelsea is just so good attacking wise, but the fact that it came down to a penalty has to be a little bit heartbreaking. Controversial one, questionably. What did you think?
Yeah.
It a pen?
I mean, like,
Little
I don't
over?
yeah, I don't tend to want to re-referee games, but had there been VAR, this would have gone a different way.
Sandra, what do you think?
You have to imagine if you have the tech available, it could have.
I think she
Right? I
touches
mean,
her.
like,
I think Kim
VAR,
Little
give it
touches Lauren
and take
James.
it away.
I don't think so. I think if there was VAR, it still would have been called a pen. She dives in there. Yes,
Yeah, but
Lauren
she's
James emphasizes the fall, hands down. She probably could have caught herself, but there was not no contact.
right, but there also was ball contact first that you see her skid. So the problem is that if they would have reviewed that, it wouldn't have stood. However, again, in the interest of working only in reality, they got the pen. They lost it that way. I mean, it's unfortunate, but I would say that performances, comparing the last match against Chelsea versus this one, infinitely better, much better squad, much better connections. Um, Again, not enough. Chelsea had the better game on this given day.
I mean, when you have Lauren James, Goo Wrighton coming off the bench to change your game, it's game over. It's
Tough.
game over. So after this result, Chelsea, they stay at the top of the Women's Super League table on 34 points. Arsenal, though, they fall all the way to fourth. They don't pick up any points. But Manchester United, they had a weekend for themselves, a 3-0 win over Brighton, but they pick up these 3 points that jump them all the way into second place, Christine. This is a United side that could they catch Chelsea? Is it their year?
I mean, they're now 7 points off Chelsea, but they're the best in form in this top of the table to be able to chase them. Like Mark Skinner definitely has a pep in his step these days. Ella Toon has been on an absolute tear. Miyazawa, that goal, like, but Celine Bizet with that absolute banger from range. They're scoring goals all kinds of ways. They've really come together. They had, double digits, 21 shots all in, and then, a chunk of those were on target. Sophie Bagley was absolutely busy. She came up with some good like double saves, but there was no stopping this United side. The unfortunate part is this loss for Brighton slides them down into fifth, which is, I know, strangely enough, this cliff point in the BWSL table. As we know with WSL, what ends up happening is this gap broadens very quickly, and if you are in the position of giving chase, it's very, very challenging to make up those points at any point in the season. Right now, Brighton are at that like 17 points, and below that is kind of into the abyss where we find, I'm so sorry, Sandra's team, Palace, with 5 points all the way at the bottom. But yeah, I think United, hey, have a go at them. Like somebody needs to challenge them. Otherwise, this league is going to get really boring and uncompetitive really, really quickly. It needs to be about more than let me secure a second place, third place, fourth place spot. That's all locked up. It's the other teams trying to give chase at this point in this juncture in the season.
If
Yeah,
United want to look at the silver lining, they've got Ella Toon on a hot streak, 5 goals in 3 games, and to play against a Brighton side and be so dominant and so in control of the match means good things on the horizon
yeah,
for
I mean, like,
United
that's not to
in my
say,
mind.
like, Brighton
Yep.
Brighton were not by any means a pushover in this game. They were fairly evenly matched.
Yeah.
It's just that United knew what to do when they had to do it. Um, I think that, it'll be interesting. United
Yeah.
stay healthy.
Same.
The only thing in their way is that they have a far more challenging fixture schedule ahead than some of the other teams in the top 4.